My friends, if there is one invisible force that has destroyed more dreams, crushed more ambitions, and stolen more lives of greatness than anything else, it is fear. Fear sits quietly in the hearts of millions, whispering doubts, magnifying weaknesses, and creating invisible prisons. Napoleon Hill, the author of Think and Grow Rich, spent more than 2 decades studying the greatest minds of his generation, and he discovered that fear is the single most destructive obstacle to success. Fear is the unseen enemy that holds men and women captive, and unless you learn how to destroy it, you will never fully step into your power, never live out your definite purpose, and never attract the success and abundance that life has prepared for you. Napoleon Hill identified 6 basic fears that dominate the human mind: fear of poverty, fear of criticism, fear of ill health, fear of loss of love, fear of old age, and fear of death. Every single other fear is a branch that grows out of these roots. These fears may look different in every person's life, but they all share the same destructive power. They paralyze your actions, weaken your faith, and cloud your mind with doubt. Hill believed that fear is not natural, it is learned. Children are born with only 2 instincts of fear, the fear of falling and the fear of loud noises. Every other fear is taught to them by society, by family, by culture, by religion, and by personal experiences. If fear is learned, then it can also be unlearned. And that is why we must confront it directly, expose it for the lie it is, and destroy it forever. Let us take the fear of poverty. This is perhaps the most common and the most paralyzing of all fears. Millions of people live their lives under the shadow of financial insecurity. They are afraid of losing their jobs, afraid of not having enough, afraid of being unable to provide for their families. This fear is so powerful that it stops them from taking risks, from pursuing dreams, from thinking creatively. Instead of building wealth, they cling to whatever scraps they have, operating with a scarcity mindset. Napoleon Hill revealed that poverty is not simply a lack of money, it is a state of mind. When your thoughts are dominated by lack, you will only attract more lack. But when you rise above this fear and begin to see abundance as your birthright, when you build faith that wealth is created through ideas and service, not luck, then you destroy the power that fear of poverty has over you. The second fear, fear of criticism, is equally devastating. So many people live small lives not because they lack talent or opportunity, but because they are terrified of what others will think. They hesitate to speak their truth, to start businesses, to write books, to create art, because they imagine the sneers, the gossip, the judgment of family, friends, or strangers. Hill explained that fear of criticism is rooted in our social nature, the desire to be accepted. But this desire becomes a prison when it controls our every action. The great truth is that no matter what you do, people will criticize you. If you succeed, they will envy you. If you fail, they will mock you. So why let their opinions chain you? Napoleon Hill urged his readers to develop the courage to live by their own standards, to pursue their definite purpose regardless of outside noise. The moment you stop fearing criticism is the moment you begin to live freely. Then comes the fear of ill health. Human beings are constantly bombarded with thoughts of sickness, disease, and weakness. Every time we imagine pain or disaster in our bodies, we magnify it. The subconscious mind is sensitive to these suggestions, and fear of ill health can create psychosomatic conditions that bring real suffering. Hill was clear that the mind is the greatest physician. Faith, positive expectation, and confidence in health have saved lives where medicine failed. This does not mean ignoring medical science. It means refusing to live as a slave to imaginary diseases. The energy you put into fearing sickness could be used to strengthen your body, to eat better, to exercise, to rest, and to visualize health. Fear of ill health is destroyed when you replace it with a belief in vitality, in the body's capacity to heal, and in the mind's power to command well-being. The fear of loss of love may be even more subtle. It is the fear of abandonment, of betrayal, of loneliness. People often stay trapped in toxic relationships because they fear being alone. They compromise their values, their dreams, even their self-respect because they fear losing the affection of another. But Napoleon Hill showed us that true love cannot be forced, controlled, or clung to. When you live in fear of losing it, you suffocate it. When you live in faith and self-respect, you attract relationships that are authentic and lasting. To destroy this fear, you must learn to love yourself first, to recognize your worth as independent of anyone else's approval. When you stand strong in self-confidence, Loss cannot enslave you. The fear of old age is deeply connected with society's obsession with youth. Many people dread the passing of time, believing that age means weakness, irrelevance, and decline. This fear robs them of the joy of living in the present. Hill argued that old age is not to be feared, but embraced as a season of wisdom and power. Some of the greatest accomplishments in history were achieved by men and women long after middle age. The secret is to keep your mind active, your purpose strong, and your heart open. Time is not your enemy, fear of time is. Destroy this fear by embracing every year as a gift and every stage of life as an opportunity. Finally, there is the fear of death. This fear has haunted humanity since the beginning of time. It is rooted in the unknown, in mystery, in what lies beyond. Hill said that fear of death is perhaps the most useless of all fears because death is inevitable. To fear, it is to waste the life you have. Instead of living half alive, worrying about the end, he encouraged us to live fully, to embrace each day with faith, and to believe that whatever comes after life is part of the infinite intelligence that governs the universe. The destruction of this fear lies in acceptance, in faith, and in living so meaningfully that when death comes, it finds you alive. Now, how do we actually destroy fear? Napoleon Hill taught that fear is a state of mind, and states of mind can be controlled. Fear thrives in the absence of faith. The weapon against fear is faith, and faith can be cultivated. Faith is not blind hope. It is a mental state that you can create through autosuggestion, affirmation, and repeated positive thought. When you feed your subconscious with images of success, with words of confidence, with feelings of abundance, you starve fear. Fear cannot live in a mind that is saturated with faith. Every morning, declare to yourself, I am fearless, I am confident. I am guided by infinite intelligence. Speak it until your subconscious believes it. Action is another destroyer of fear. Hill said that action cures fear while inaction feeds it. Think of the moments you were most afraid, whether of speaking in public, starting a business, or having a difficult conversation. The fear always built up in your imagination before the event. But once you acted, once you took the first step, the fear shrank. This is because fear is a shadow, not a reality. It grows only in the dark spaces of inaction. When you act, you bring light, and the shadow disappears. If you want to destroy fear forever, build the habit of acting quickly on your ideas, of refusing to procrastinate, of stepping forward even when your knees shake. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to act despite fear. Persistence is also essential. Fear does not die easily. It will return again and again, disguised in new forms. But Hill discovered that persistence eventually wears fear down. Every time you face fear and refuse to retreat, you grow stronger and the fear grows weaker. Over time, you build a record of victories that makes fear powerless. Persistence is proof to your subconscious mind that you will not be dominated. Once your subconscious accepts this, fear loses its hold permanently. Another method Napoleon Hill emphasized is the power of the mastermind. Alone, fear can feel overwhelming, but when you surround yourself with strong, positive, faith-filled individuals, their energy multiplies yours. The collective belief of a mastermind group can lift you above your personal doubts and remind you of your strength. If fear is contagious, so is courage. Surround yourself with those who refuse to bow to fear, and you will catch their fire. But perhaps the most profound weapon against fear is definiteness of purpose. Hill observed that a man or woman with a clear, burning desire, backed by a definite plan, becomes unstoppable. Purpose creates focus, and focus leaves no room for fear. When you are obsessed with a goal that inspires your soul, fear becomes a minor irritation, not a controlling force. Think of the great leaders, inventors, and visionaries of history. They all faced fear, but their purpose was so strong that fear could not hold them. Define your purpose so clearly, burn it into your heart so deeply, that fear is drowned in the fire of your desire. Let us not forget gratitude. Gratitude is the antidote to many forms of fear. When you are grateful for what you have, fear of loss disappears. When you are grateful for your health, fear of illness weakens. When you are grateful for your life, fear of death loses its sting. Gratitude keeps your mind focused on abundance rather than lack, and abundance is a vibration that fear cannot penetrate. Make gratitude a daily practice, and watch fear dissolve from your heart. The truth is, fear will try to visit you every day. It will knock at the door of your mind with whispers of doubt, with images of disaster, with reminders of past failures. But you do not have to let it in. You can stand guard at the door of your mind and decide who enters. Hill said that your mind is the only thing over which you have complete control. Fear can only dominate if you surrender that control. The moment you claim it back, the moment you choose faith over fear, the battle is won. Understand this clearly: fear is not a fact. It is a thought, and thoughts can be changed. Fear is a lie that pretends to be reality. When you shine the light of truth on it, it disappears. Truth says you are powerful. Truth says you are guided by infinite intelligence. Truth says you were not born to crawl but to rise, not to hide but to shine, not to fear but to conquer. So today, make the decision that you will no longer bow to fear. Decide that you will replace every fearful thought with a thought of faith, every doubt with a declaration of confidence, every hesitation with bold action. This is how you destroy fear forever. Napoleon Hill gave us the blueprint. Now it is your turn to live it. Because the truth is simple: fear is nothing, faith is everything. Choose faith and fear will die. Choose action and fear will vanish. Choose purpose and fear will flee. Choose gratitude and fear will dissolve. When you live this way, you are unstoppable, unshakable, unafraid. You become a magnet for success, for abundance, for happiness, because you are no longer chained by invisible prisons. You are free, and freedom, my friends, is the foundation of greatness.